Howdy, folks. It's Johnny D Talks to the Stars once again, and today's special guest is Bobby Burgess from the Lawrence Welk Show and Mickey Mouse Club, just to name a few of the things he's done in the many years that he's been in show business. Hello, Bobby. How are you doing?
Just fine. Nice to talk to you from Los Angeles and Hollywood.
Cool. And I hear you've got a little bit of drizzle happening over there right now.
Right. That's unusual for us. Otherwise, we've had beautiful weather.
All righty. Well, indeed, I know it's beautiful California weather, and the only thing is you got to dodge the earthquakes there, just like we dodge tornadoes here in this part of the world.
Right.
Well, let's start off. How did you get into the business of show business?
Well, I was dancing since I was like 4 years old, and I did a lot of amateur TV shows, and an agent saw me on one of these shows and called up, and I started going out in professional interviews, and I got my first commercial on the Ozzie and Harriet show, and it went on from there. And when I was 13, I became an original Mouseketeer for those 4 years that were wonderful at Disney Studios. And then when I was 19, I won a dance contest for the Lawrence Welk Show, dancing to Calcutta with this hit with my dancing partner, and we won an appearance on the show. And it just went from 1 week to the other until we finally said we're regulars on this show. And, you know, we did our own choreography, and we just found out the theme of the show, and then went from there. And he never did complain, so I guess that's why I stayed for 21 years.
Very cool. Very cool. I say, hey, okay, so let's go back to the Mickey Mouse Club. I mean, you were one of the Mouseketeers there, Bobby, and certainly you were there for, what, 4 years, you say?
Right, 55 to 59, right in there.
Any stories from the Mickey Mouse Club that you can tell us?
Well, I used to love to dance with Annette Funicello, but she was always so friendly and kind of loose, you know, and we would do dancing, and I would put her up on my shoulders when we have to do a dance routine together, and she would just laugh, and I'd have to gently drop her on the floor, and she would just lay there and laugh. That was one of my things that I remember so much. But she was a real delight to work with, and of course she became our big star with all those beach party movies and all. But it was wonderful working with Walt Disney. He would come in and actually be observing our rehearsals and make comments, and and then we were on his Wonderful World of Disney show a few times, so we got to work with him, which was really something special. We could go to the sound stage, different from ours, and watch him actually do those introductions, and just it was like seeing a vision, because it was just him in a background of black, and he just reading off his cue cards. But of course, he had that certain Disney charisma that was so famous all through the years.
Did you cross any paths over beyond Walt Disney? Certainly, and then there was obviously Jimmy and Roy and obviously all the Mouseketeers, but and again, Annette Funicello. Did you cross paths with any of the folks back in those days in Disney, like, for example, Fess Parker when he was doing Davy Crockett, or anybody like that?
Yes, we had a talent roundup day for amateur kids, but we have a professional day, which was Tuesday. That was our guest star day, and we had Fess Parker on, as a matter of fact, and got to work with him. And you know, like movie stars and ice skating stars, and you know, we would present them, and if they wanted to sing or if they wanted to do their famous skating routines, we would present them on Tuesdays. But we got to work with the new kids on Friday, which was Talent Roundup Day. You know, every day had a theme. You know, Fun with Music was Monday, Tuesday was Guest Star, Wednesday was Anything Can Happen Day. Thursday was Circus Day. We got to work with circus performers and, you know, do trampoline acts and work with animals and things. And then Friday we put on our Western duds, and we would present our Talent Roundup guests and maybe even perform with them sometimes.
I mean, days like that, I mean, how long would it be for the kids? I know that I guess there was rules on they had to keep you all limited to a certain amount of hours of work, correct?
Yes, we had to go to school for 3 hours, and then we could work for 3 hours. That's right. And I lived in Long Beach, so, you know, our commute was like an hour to an hour and a half, because freeways were just being built in California at that time. So it was a long day, a busy day. We had 3 teams working, though. One was doing the filming, one was rehearsing, and one was going to school. So it was worked like that. And there was the red team, the white team, and the blue team, and you know, we would just alternate, and everybody was always working all the time or going to school or whatever.
So did you ever get a chance to do any like episodes like Spin and Marty and all those other things that happened during that time period, or were you just limited to certain things that they kept you limited at?
Occasionally, the Mouseketeers would work with the people on the serials.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes we'd be going to school with them. I'd be going with Tim Considine or Tommy Kirk or Mucci or some of those other ones, and they would be in our little red schoolhouse with our singular teacher who would be teaching 6 Mouseketeers. There were like 2 or 3 of those trailers, and we got a great education because it was like individual attention. And when I went back to my senior year in high school down here in Long Beach, California, I graduated in the upper 2% of my class because of like tutoring that I got on the Mickey Mouse Club.
Very cool, very cool. And so, I mean, Mickey Mouse Club, again, just the start, basically, of your career. I mean, you said you made some appearances on Ozzie and Harriet, or was that that was your first appearance, right, on Ozzie and Harriet?
Yeah, I got to work with Ricky Nelson and go to school with him.
Okay.
Way back when, yeah. So, he was a year ahead of me, if I remember.
Uh-huh.
But that was one of the things I got to do outside. I worked on the Donna Reed show with Paul Peterson, who became a Mouseketeer after that. And then he went on to do the Donna Reed show. That's right.
Yeah.
And
you were like Shelley Fabray's date, right, or something like that? Or you on the Donna Reed show?
Yeah, I got to work with Shelley Fabray in one of the series. One episode. She was a delight, and she had taken tap dancing lessons at the same studio where I went, so I kind of knew her. So that was kind of a fun adventure.
So so you've got through all the 1950s, and then as you worked here, I guess you said Calcutta. Now Calcutta became popular like in the early 60s. Is that about the time period you got on the Lawrence Welk Show?
Right. Lawrence Welk had that big hit. That was his biggest hit I think he's ever had, even though he recorded many albums, and, records through the years. That was his big #1 hit, and it was called Calcutta. And it was a dance contest that he created, I think, specifically for Barbara and Bobby, my dancing partner Barbara and I, over at the Aragon Ballroom in Santa Monica. And then an appearance, we won the series, which was a 13-week series, we would get an appearance on the show, and we won that 13-week contest. And then we went into his dressing room after each performance that we would do and tell him, now, I heard you do this great tango, and he would say, well, how do you do that? How does it look? And I would dance around his dressing room with my partner. He said, well, come on next week and dance the blue tango on our show, or whatever the theme would happen to be.
And you said, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He said we created a spot for ourselves on the Lawrence Welk Show from doing that, because he didn't have a dance couple before that. So we just stayed every year until the show went off the air. So 21 a year was a great adventure for a dance couple, that's for sure. And then, of course, we did all the PBS specials. I think 14 PBS specials after that. And, I had 3 partners through the years. I had Barbara, and she married one of the singers and left the show. And then I found Sissy. We were on together for 12 years. And then I found Elaine, and we danced for like 14 years. So I had 3 really great partners on the Lawrence Welk Show.
Any good stories from the Lawrence Welk Show? I'm sure. What was it like working with Lawrence?
Well, he was our musical father. I mean, he appreciated all that we did for him because, like I say, we did our own choreography. So he just gave us free reign, which was great because we danced in front of that terrific Lawrence Welk band every week, and they would give us the theme about 2 weeks in advance, and then it was up to us to come up with our own dance routines, and we would suggest the music. I would go over to Burbank, California, and get together with the arranger and arrange the dance the orchestrations, and I would tell the costumer what costume we'd like to use and the set decorations, so we would have enough room to dance, and it was a wonderful job. I mean, for a dance couple, for all those years to be that creative, it was truly our expression of how we felt the music told us what to do.
And speaking of dancing, I mean, were you ever like influenced, or did you ever cross paths with like folks like Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire? Did you ever cross paths with them?
You know what? The Hollywood Palace was going at the same time, and eventually we did work at the Hollywood Palace, which was a weekly show. But I could go over there after I filmed at our ABC studios, and I could watch Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly and all the great ones who were emceeing the show. In fact, I got to sit down next to Fred Astaire at one point and talk to him and say, I just read your book, and I was so impressed with how you and Ginger got along, and how you worked with her costumes and all. He was very friendly, and he was very complimentary.
Be there to go to the Hollywood Palace and see those folks and everything. Were there any other stars that you were just impressed with crossing paths there? I know the Hollywood Palace was a big thing on ABC at that time. Did you cross paths with any other great stars?
I did audition for Gene Kelly at one time, but I think I was the wrong type, and I think I was a little young. I think he was looking for something more mature and more ballet trained. You know, I was mainly a tap dancer who did ballroom dancing, and I had studied some ballet, but for this particular role. But I had a really good agent that would send me around and trying out for different movies and stuff. And you know, it was a trek because, like I say, I was living in Long Beach, which is like 45, 50 miles away from the auditions and all. Luckily, I had a mother who would drive me. Sometimes my father would drive me, and if he would drive me, he would always stop and give me a banana split. So I always wanted Dad to drive me.
Well, I guess that pays off pretty good. The more you dance, the more banana splits you got.
Even if I wouldn't get the gig, I would get the banana split.
But you had to be careful in eating too many banana splits, right? Because you didn't want to get too heavy.
Right. I had to watch my weight, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Those dance costumes.
Well, I mean, again, because dance, I mean, obviously is a sport, basically. Did you have to stay in shape all those years that you? I mean, obviously you had to stay in shape all those 21 years that you were doing all.
Well, I did because, like I say, I had costumes that were made to fit me, and I had to get in them because I was doing an act. I would be going out on tour, like theaters in the round and club dates and county and state fairs, and you know, my partner and I would do an act of 30 minutes or something, sometimes 2 a day and outdoors, and it was sometimes really a challenge to really come up with enough energy to do 2 half-hour shows. And I was doing a lot of lifts and really fast dances, like we would do a fast country clog, and we would do a jitterbug, and you know, besides the tangos and the waltzes and all, and change our clothes and all. But it was always fun. We always enjoyed it, and I had good partners who you know were easy to dance with and always helped me in every way.
I'm sure you crossed paths many times with Arthur Duncan, who was another great dancer from the show.
Yeah, Arthur and I and Jack put on a little act sometimes, not on the road, but within Lawrence Welk's tour shows. And he called us the Three Steppers because he had worked with the Step Brothers, the famous African-American guys who would dance really as fast as they can, challenging each other. He wanted us to be like that, so it would be Arthur in the middle and Jack and I on either side, and we would do this really fast. It was called the buck dance. It always went really over really well because we would challenge each other to see who could do the fanciest steps, and Lawrence always loved that because he had worked with the Step Brothers way back in the 40s and 50s, I guess. So he wanted his own Step Brothers, and it was Bobby, Arthur, and Jack.
And so after Lawrence Welk, basically, I mean, you still, had a dance studio, correct? Or you still have a dance studio, correct?
Well, yes, I have Burgess Cotillion in Long Beach. We have 3rd grade through high school, and I have my son, who's my right-hand man, who helps me with the choreography, and my other son is our DJ down there, and we have over 1,000 kids in Burgess Cotillion, and then we have 3 junior highs and a high school group over in Palos Verdes. So that's a very successful group over there also. And they start in the 6th grade. They go 6, 7, and 8. And then the high school group, of course, one high school group is 9 through 12.
All righty. And then again, also you've written a book called Ears and Bubbles, correct?
Yeah, Ears and Bubbles, Dancing My Way from the Mickey Mouse Club to the Lawrence Welk Show. You can get that on Amazon, right? or I think the other place is called, what is it called? Theme Park Press. Okay. Yeah, that's the one that prints this for us.
All right, and one thing I was going to mention also that you're married to Christy Florin, and
right. We've been married over 50 years. We have 4 children, and we have 8 grandchildren. So that keeps my wife especially busy because she goes clear up to Simi Valley, which is a good hour and a half away from here, and that daughter has 1, 2, 3, 5 children, and Becky, who's down in the valley, she has 3 children, so she's a little closer, so it's easier for her to be the babysitter for both of them. So she's busy all the time. And taking care of me, of course.
So, congratulations to you all. I mean, 54 years of marriage. And again, Christy being the daughter of Myron Florin, who did the accordion playing. I've mentioned this to you all off the air, that my folks being from Croatia. And again, I heard from a lot of folks in the Midwest, growing up in the Midwest. I mean, there were stars like Frankie Yankovic, but Myron Florin, he was a big star. A lot of folks that were Slavic and loved his music.
Great performer. You know, I love to watch the Welk Show because I of course like to watch my partners, and I'm from routines that I have even forgotten about many years ago. But to see Myron there, you know, he's just so talented, and he was so successful on the road. Sometimes we would be able to see him at gatherings because he would be appearing back in South Dakota or in the Midwest somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he was a great talent, that's for sure. In fact, I used to take the accordion at one point, way back, and when I was in the 6th and 7th grade, and he came to our local studio and put on an appearance, and I never thought I would be his son-in-law, marrying his daughter and having all his grandchildren.
So, I mean, and then Myron, again, being a great accordion player, did he play any other instruments, or was it just accordion?
Well, he led the band, so he knew everything, you know, but he was a schooled musician, of course, and his specialty was accordion. And he was one of the greatest. He could play anything. I mean, you know, not only just polkas, but he played religious things, and he played classical things, and he had a great act when he would go on the road, and he would do a terrific show.
Well, if it wasn't for dancing in the Mickey Mouse Club, what was your plan? Was there like an alternative plan in your life? Were you looking at something else that you wanted to be growing up, or was that, or you already knew that you wanted to do this as a living?
Well, I always loved to do that, and of course I am doing that while I'm doing teaching at my Burgess Cotillion and all. But every time I changed dancing partners on the Lawrence Welk Show, I bought a building, an apartment building, so I'm also a landlord to about, maybe 50 different households. I have 4 or 5 buildings. Yeah. So that was a nice investment that I did while I was also working on the show, just in case I broke my leg and couldn't dance anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, what would have done if you didn't do the dancing? So you already got into some real estate. Okay, cool. And what does your future hold? I mean, are you going to be writing any other books or anything like that? Or I mean, do you still? I mean, don't take this wrong, but I mean, you're going to be 84 here very shortly. Here, happy birthday to you. I think it's May 19th, right? May 19th?
I think I put everything in my one book. You know, it tells all about my family, all about my wild adventures on the road. Sometimes they didn't go exactly like as planned, that's for sure. But it's an entertaining book, I think, and even some things that happened at my dancing studio when I was teaching. You know, because I was teaching sometimes in the 70s and 80s too, and that was a pretty wild time with kids who were really kind of rebelling.
You bring up a wild thing. I mean, something that you could share from your book, or do you want everybody just to catch your book? I mean, if you have, is there a story that you have that stood out? Say, wow, this is like you said, 1970s and 80s. You bring up the word rebelling. I never put you in the same sentence. Look like you could be rebelling and you're a dancer, Bobby Burgess. I mean, so is there any story that stands out, you know, that you can tell the folks at home?
Well, I still stay in touch with some of my really great fans that I've had all through the years. We exchanged Christmas cards, and you know, I'm looking at one right now. Let me look and see what this guy said. This was really impressive to me. Oh, here he is. His name is Stan Chambers, and he said, "I'm a fan for life. Merry Christmas and God bless." Yeah, so sometimes, you know, they'll stay with me for a long time, and we do send out 750, 800 Christmas cards during the year to our best fans. I mean, it's kind of nice because they become friends, writing back and forth. Sometimes they'll do birthdays and their anniversaries, and always at the holiday. So that's nice.
I mean, you mentioned you did like 14 specials on the Lawrence Welk Show. I mean, after the show ran in 1982, I mean, you did 14 specials. I mean, and also that includes, I guess, your time. You just making a lot of appearances in Branson, I presume.
Yeah, I worked at Branson for many years. But I think the most popular of all of our PBS specials was called Milestones and Memories. I got to dance with all 3 of my dancing partners through the years. Wow. Barbara, and then Sissy, and then Elaine. and all in the same dance, which was kind of fun. You know, they came to my little house, not my big little house, it's a nice house up here in the Hollywood Hills, but they have a little dance studio within it, and, you know, we put it all together. One would do, and it changed different tempos of music in that particular dance. One would do Latin, one would do jitterbug, one would do smooth, and some lifts and things. So they all got to shine, and, you know, I was lucky I got to dance with 3 different partners with 3 different abilities, really, and I would teach them all to polka because most of them didn't know how, and then we'd go with their strongest suit, whatever they did best. You know, I would try to showcase them.
And what would you say is your favorite dance form?
You know what? I've always loved the tango. I love the music and just the feel of the dance. In fact, my wife and I love to travel. We went to Argentina a few times, and we got to go to some of those underground clubs that you go to see. And they were doing like milonga and tangos and unusual dances of Argentina and all, just to get the feel and the look of how it really should look. So, you know, that's always been fun. I've always had a few choreographers placed here and there that I could go study special things. Like I had one that specialized in jitterbug, and I had another one that specialized in folk dancing, because Lawrence would come up and say, oh, next month we're doing an Italian show. And I went, oh, I don't know how to do the tarantella. So I would go to Dr. Call, who was a professor at USC, who would help me and teach me some steps. And then I'd put it together and get the music from the Welk people and have a nice, successful dance doing the tarantella. So, you know, I know all these great folk dances through the years. Tinikling, which is a folk dance of the Philippines, was one of the favorite ones, with the dance poles where you dance in and out of the poles.
My goodness.
And like you say, I do chardish, I would do polkas, of course. So everybody specializes in something different, and then I would put it together and put it with my own style and all my background of ballroom dancing through the years, and tap dancing and ballet and jazz and all the things I took through the years. Yeah, so that was so creative for me.
And any advice for the young dancers out there right now? I mean, I know that this is a totally different world that we live in, and some people, the dancers today have gotten really carried away. What do you think about these? Well, first of all, before I get that advice.
Fine, because I have to know how to do them, because the kids today want to learn those. You know, we teach them the basic ballroom dances, waltz, foxtrot, swing, and cha-cha, and those kind of things. But they want to know how to do all the other new types of dances. You know, and I luckily have younger children who are not adults now, of course, but they stay in tune with all the latest dances and teach me some of the new things and keep me abreast of all the new songs and the new rhythms that are coming out. So the kids will be happy. But like we do themes now at our cotillions, which are fun. We have dance contests and games with prizes, and we have mother-son, father-daughter dances, and so it's been very successful.
I mean, any advice to the young kids today that are being schooled in dancing, and what the future would hold for them and everything?
Well, what's kind of nice is touch dancing's back again, because, you know, for a while, when Chubby Checker came along, people didn't want to touch dance anymore. They just want to do the twist or the jerk or the mashed potato or the pony or all those dances. So my dancing studio, where I was learning to dance, had 11,000 students. And when those things came along, she went down to almost nothing. And she and her husband, they were called Call's Dance Studio, Call's Fine Arts Center in Long Beach, California. You know, they went to a smaller studio and everything else, and then slowly but surely it came back again. And, you know, some of these shows are very popular. Dancing with the Stars is popular, and So You Think You Can Dance. So people like to watch ballroom dancing. And, you know, and of course they could watch our show and see my partners and I.
Yes, indeed. Well, Bobby, what a life. I mean, from Mickey Mouse Club to Lawrence Welk and many other things.
Anyway, it's been a wonderful career all those years, and I still enjoy watching the show and teaching and dancing. And like I say, I got my family all involved now. Now my grandchildren are taking Burgess Cotillion in Long Beach, and one of my grandsons is my DJ down there when they need somebody. Yeah,
very cool.
That's fun. That's fun.
Well, Bobby, thank you for being here on this show, and many more years of good luck to you and your family.
Great, thank you very much. Nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too. Take care, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.